I do feel like we should...
Just welcome everybody.
Sure.
Nope.
No. Yes, of course. But I was going to say we should dedicate this episode to our husbands.
I love that.
Yeah. Even though we're...
You can watch it when you come back from war.
I thought this hat was going to be a vibe. And then I put it on and I was like, oh.
She's like, I look like I'm from MASH. And I was like, oh, yeah.
And so now we played the theme song.
No, correction. You played the theme song.
Yeah, but you started singing it.
And you put this evil in our head.
It's, first of all, that show was beyond our years. That was not.
Yeah.
But it was a hit. And apparently I'm, for whatever reason, channeling that for this episode. I feel like I was just trying to rock out with some AC/DC, but my whole look is it's a look.
I'm here for it.
Flower power.
I tried to give myself a whole crown of marigolds.
Yeah, except you started right at the top. And I look over and I was like, oh, what? What are you doing?
Now I just smell like weed. I don't understand.
So, okay. Fun story. We have topics that we prepare that we're going to talk about before we get together. And we had talked about doing a History of Witches episode, which we still are going to do.
Yes.
But then we decided to move it to a later date. Jointly decided. Like, we had this conversation. I did not remember that. So I prepared for that episode and I picked a bunch of marigolds because the Dia de Muertos is part of it. Anyways, so I have this whole thing of marigolds, which Charlie, you can't put things in front of Charles because he just immediately thinks he can eat everything. So he was like, are those editable? Is that what he kept saying?
He called it ebitable.
Ebitable.
Well, we couldn't even say it incorrectly.
No, right. And I was like, I don't think they are, but you can go ahead and give it a go if you want. So we have lots of cut marigolds, and then we get in here to record, and Krystyn's like, did you have these next to a bag of weed? And I was like, what? I was like, no, I don't even own a bag of weed. It's 2025. I have gummies.
Yeah,
Duh.
they call it flour.
And then I was like, you didn't know this, but I'm growing a bunch of marijuana in my garden right on East McMurray. But they do smell a little bit like weed. I think just marigolds in general smell like weed.
I bet when I put it to my nose and I smell it, it doesn't smell like that.
But these are a variety of different marigolds. They were all together in that container. Before that container had edamame in it. So maybe edamame and marigold make weed.
Editables or edamame?
Edamame.
That's what they should call them instead of edibles. Ebitables.
Ebitables. That's what you do after you have an edible.
You can't say the word
You
edible.
just start talking in gibberish. And then we told Charles that some of them are edible, but some of them are toxic. And you're just going to have to find out which one is which.
So I'm going to call my insurance agent, and then we're going to have a fun episode for you guys.
Yes. Just need to run that by them. All right. So.
Just kidding. I love my husband. In fact, we're talking about our husbands today. And, other things. What? Where was I going with that?
I don't know.
You guys.
You probably should have another sip of your elixir over there.
Alani Witches Brew.
That's the way to get a sponsor. Alani from 1984.
It's like those.
It's the infomercial.
It's like those Mercedes commercials. Mercedes.
Oh, the girl with the nails.
Alani.
Like the other day when I was at Trader Joe's, did you see that content that I put out on TikTok where I was in the nut section of Trader Joe's looking at the different nuts? Did you know, have you heard of the term nut meats? You've heard of this term.
Nut meats and nut butters.
Well, nut butters, yes. I've heard of that.
Justin's nut butter.
Yes, Justin.
I mean, why'd he have to name it after himself, honestly?
That's also my brother's name. So anyways, moving on.
Let's not talk about your brother's nut butter.
I really would rather not.
Poor Rachel.
But nut meats. I had never heard of this term. So I'm in Trader Joe's, and much to my chagrin, I see pistachio nut
You've
meats.
been hanging out with me way too
And I was like, nut meats? Like, I'm out loud saying this shit. I'm like, Isla, nut meats?
Oh,
What
you
is
wrapped
that?
the 5-year-old into this?
She's the only one I was with
Isla,
me.
drink this vodka and talk about nut meats for content.
But I was like, I've never heard of this term. Like, did we not come up with a better?
Clearly not. What do you, nut jerky? I don't think that's...
It's just the middle of the nut.
It's the meat.
No, it's fucking nut. I would call it nut.
It's fucking nut. It says, guys.
Fucking nut. It's fucking nut. It's fucking not. I would call it
nut.
The nut middle. The middle of the nut. Nut center.
This podcast brought to you by Alani.
This is what happens when you drink Alani. You just turn into a creative motherfucker.
Cheers.
Did we welcome?
Nope. All right, let's get into it, guys.
Okay. Welcome to Two Mystic Mamas. Let's do a card pull. What do we most need to know about this episode? Huh? What do we most need to know about this episode? Okay. Earth Mother. That's right. That's who we are. That's what we do. This is the support we provide. Okay? I love it. We keep the torch alive at home. We support our husbands by nurturing all of the things that they need to have happen before they go coach. I don't even think we've told you what we're talking about yet.
Holding space from the sidelines.
That's right. We're talking about our husbands who are both head coaches of different industries. Geoff head coaches wrestling and football. And then Charlie head coaches, I don't want to get it wrong. There's like 19 different things that he does. So,
yes, he is percussion director for a local marching band, an assistant band director, and percussion director for an indoor ensemble as well.
Yes. Both positions have been like wildly successful too, since he has been at the helm. So I love that this is the card that we pulled for this, right? Because feel loved and comforted. And if you look at this card, I mean, really, this is what Krystyn and I are. We are mothers in our own right, but we're also wives and nurturers. And part of what we're going to talk about is how important it is, if you are in this role, to support your partner as they go in and educate and love on and nurture youth, whether it's young children or adolescents or even young adults into adulthood. So
my card pull was the 9 of Wands, which wands are like that action, that creativity. And for this, really, it's about like strength, perseverance. Like you can do it. It's like that kind of vibe. So I love that we pulled these for today.
Yeah, this is good. So a little bit of back history. Geoff and I started dating in 2008, got married in 2012, and he didn't start coaching until 2019. So, we had been together for over 10 years before I saw him in this particular role. And if you've been in a committed relationship with somebody, I think it's always fascinating when you think you know that person so well, and then something happens and you're like, I had no idea you were into this, or you didn't like this, or this was a part of your past. And so it was that realization when he first started coaching wrestling, and he came home and he was like so energized and so joyful in a way that I had never experienced before. And I was like, oh, this is your jam.
Right.
Like this is your calling. And not everybody can be a coach. Just because you are a subject matter expert in the thing doesn't mean that translates.
Right.
And then it became amplified when people would come up to me, parents, and they would be like, he is such a good coach. Like he is so good with the kids. He is so patient. And it's interesting too, because he was a parent, is still a parent, but it's a different role, And sometimes it's gotten to the point where I'm like, would you say some of this shit to kids that you're coaching? And he's
Right,
like,
right.
no. And I was like, then maybe you shouldn't say it to our kids. Like,
Right.
there's like a, like a balance there because you feel so comfortable, right? But I was like, you have to keep doing this. Like, this is your calling.
Yeah. It's really cool to watch them embody something that is like soul deep. And I would imagine that they kind of feel similar watching us do what we love here with the podcast in terms of like seeing us bloom.
For sure.
But like to watch somebody who has so much passion for something and dedicate so much time and energy. And, for me, like when Charlie and I got together, he was fully ingrained in teaching, right? He wasn't a director at that point. And he worked at the same school for like 8 years doing like competitive marching band, teching their percussion. And he would also, like, all of these other schools would cherry pick him to come teach their drum lines for band camp. So he would literally teach for 2 weeks at this school and then go to the next band camp and the next band camp. And hopefully they all didn't overlap. And for me, it was awesome to watch him grow into a director and then see, like, he's this silly, goofy, we talk about all the time, right? He's this silly, goofy guy.
Mm-hmm. He's a kid.
He's a kid,
like,
which is part of why he's such a great director.
For sure.
But at the same time, like, he's so serious when it comes to drumming. And the first time I saw it, I was like, what? Mm-hmm. Which I think it's so funny. The whole, like, not his section, the whole rest of the marching band is terrified of him.
Because he's the least terrifying person.
Right. But they're all terrified. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we know him in a different context. But yes, I think.
But not his students, though.
No.
They know.
Yeah. Well, there's a level of respect, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just awesome to see someone, like you said, bloom into something or grow into something or re-experience. I think it was for me, too. It was one of those things where this is just a personal opinion, that I feel that men sometimes suppress their childhood and being a child and doing childlike things.
Because they're supposed to man up
so deeply, that when you see something like this come out, it's so refreshing. It's, it's nurturing, right? It's like that divine feminine that lives in every man, for sure, that comes up and wants to do something from a deep level. Because coaching, most of the time, you don't get paid to coach. This is a volunteer position. This is not like, we're not talking coaching a major league or a major sports team or anything like that. We're talking youth sports, coaching our children. And so when you take that into consideration too, it's an act of love. It's a gift that you're giving to the community, you're giving to the children. And so I think that for me, that it was also like so attractive.
Oh, yeah.
It made me even more attracted to Geoff.
Jeffrey coaching has made Rachel more attractive. You guys.
I have become hotter because Geoff coaches. That's how it works. You do something and then it rubs off on me.
Yep. There you go.
In case you didn't know.
I think one of the things that's really interesting about being in a relationship with somebody, the same characteristics that can make you so attracted to your partner can also be the thing that is the hardest to deal with in your partner. From the standpoint of, like, I love Charlie's passion. And I think for anybody in a relationship, like, you can think about this, like, something you love about your partner is ultimately something that you're like, oh, fuck. Mm-hmm. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love this. I love this part of him. But ultimately, the schedule involved with it and the amount of time and energy that it takes has an impact on our family, on our marriage, all of it.
Yes.
Most of the time, it's a good impact, but sometimes it's a struggle. To make everything happen. And that's part of what we're talking about today as well is, how do you spiritually, energetically, physically hold space for your partner when they're giving so much energy out to another organization or a team?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not something that I think people talk about really.
No, and I think ultimately if you don't talk about it, it can really probably have a negative effect on the relationship, because it is a two-way street. And again, like, everyone's having these human experiences, so you could have good days and bad days. I think that, you know, one of the ways that works for us is just being organized and prepared to go into that day. So when football season comes in, you know, we're coming out of the summer, and Geoff and I have both chosen very strongly to limit what our children participate in, because we like each other and we have multiple kids. So if they were doing multiple sports, it would limit our ability to see each other. And our marriage ultimately is more important than our children doing every activity that they absolutely want to try.
Right.
And, you know, they always say you fuck up your kids some way. So maybe that's how our kids will come back and be like, we didn't get to try all the things. And I'll be like, yeah, but your dad and I are still married and we like each other.
I mean, Evie tries a lot of stuff, but we also have the code in our household and our family that if you are going to try something, you're going to commit to it.
Yes.
And that means you're going to commit all the way through. Right? If you're a musician and you're playing instruments, you're going to practice them. And that does mean that it takes extra time. But I think also what happens through that process is that you weed out the things that they're not actually passionate about.
For sure.
And then they can start to hone in on what they're doing. So I would say that Evie does, you know, for our area, I don't know if it's the same for you guys down in Peters. She's fairly typical in terms of like her athletics with what other kids are doing. Most of them are doing multiple sports at once. It's her music that like kind of tips it a little bit. So it's like, okay, let's make sure we're like having a strategy, having a plan, to your point. Are we organized? And we can support each other in that way, because the athletics and the music are both very important to her.
Totally.
And same with Charlie.
Yep. Well, music's big in your house, way bigger than it is in our house.
And it's a point of connection for us.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Where that just doesn't exist. We love music, but Geoff and I are not musically inclined.
I would never know by your clapping.
Or my lack
I'm sorry, I had to, guys. I love you.
My lack thereof. But yeah, I think being organized, being prepared, making meals, and being able to pivot and just let stuff go when it needs to be let go. I think the other thing that's interesting being a coach's wife is how they grow and develop as the kids age. Your coaching changes. Like when you're coaching little tiny youth kids, you know, they're not having things happen at school. They're not having things happen at home, you know, and as our kids are aging, different conversations are happening, and holding space for your partner in that regard too, that they can come home and vent to you and talk to you about what's going on. Also like parents' expectations, which I'll be very honest, I have very little patience for parents if they're going to complain about coaching.
Where's the line though? And like,
I mean,
the reason that I say this is because we did recently have a situation with coaching where Charlie and I both feel as though something that was said was wildly out of line.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
From a coaching. So like, I understand what you're saying about parents complaining.
Yes.
However, I think that there is a line there that has to be maintained of like, because you as a parent, when Geoff's not the coach, you know, if your kid is treated a certain way, spoken to a certain way, like you're going to step in and you're going to say something.
For sure. Well, and it's fascinating to hear back, you know, back in the day, but Geoff will talk about, and the other guy coaches specifically for football, right? Because we're in the middle of football season, not so much wrestling, but how their coaches used to talk to them, their youth coaches, which is like wildly.
Oh my God. I mean,
wildly
same
inappropriate. Yes. Yeah. So I think that from a coaching standpoint, I still think that there is a line there that you cannot cross.
Yep.
And you have to be appropriate. And also, like, if something gets said or misconstrued, like, just being transparent about it, right? Like, I'm not talking about slipping up once in a while and dropping a F-bomb or get your shit together during a pep talk in the middle of like, I'm still like, I'm okay with that. Right. For a certain age group. Like, my kids are Graham's 10. So these are 10, 11-year-olds. I'm okay if you want to have a pep talk in the middle of the game during halftime where it's like, let's go, and you rally them. I guess I'd have to know like what it was said in context, but I do feel
let's fucking go. No,
I always go back to this, but it's like, what childhood trauma are you bringing up that you're deflecting now on to other children?
Right.
Because I want to talk about a little bit about emotions. If you have a child that participates in youth sports, you will have witnessed this on some level. Different youth sports, I think, embody different levels of emotions, raw emotions that come up when successes or wins happen, but also more so on the flip side of that, when a loss is on the table. And it has been fascinating to me to watch how parents handle emotions.
They don't handle emotion.
Oh my fucking God. It is a wild place. You got to experience it. And if I'm not being clear, I'm talking about wrestling.
Right.
So I know I'm bebopping around, but raw emotions in wrestling in a gym, in a hot, sweaty ass gym where a kid loses a match and the parent loses their mind. And you watch it play out time and time again. And I'm like, this is not helpful. Like, that immediate, how can I nurture? How can I support? How can I help? Goes into overdrive. And naturally, I have to keep myself in check because I don't need to do that for every parent out there on the mat.
No, you don't.
But it has been a reoccurring theme just in our own family with how can I be an anchor for Geoff when his emotions get the best of him. And a lot of it has come back to he has to do some work.
Right.
There's work to be done on how best to channel that energy and what that means when it comes up. Because a lot of times it's our own children that trigger it the most.
Right. There's a level of respect and understanding that has to happen. You know, when you are a teacher's child or a coach's child, you're going to hear things other kids don't hear.
Yes.
You're going to be privy to information sometimes that other people are not privy to.
Yes.
And you have a standard to uphold. And, you know, we don't really see this too much in our family. I mean, we obviously have it with School of Rock and whatever. But, you know, the band director that Charlie works with has had multiple of his kids come through the program. And he has 2 in band right now. And they're so great about that, you know, not having conversations with their kids that is going to then go back to all the other students.
Yes. I do feel like with us being as spiritual as we are and having tools in our toolbox, it has been helpful in regards to this, especially this in wrestling, because I've been able to do visualization exercises with my kids. And I think this is something I would love to see this happen in youth sports in general, that during practices, either before practice or after practice, there is these mindfulness moments that can happen where you just like bring the energy back down, you center it back down. And this is whether you play on a team sport or an individual sport like wrestling or swimming, where you're really competing against yourself. That we have this visualization exercise where you just bring that energy back in. And you calm down, you calm everything down. You can do it while stretching and just getting that mindset back, because it is so easy to allow ourselves, especially if something goes wrong, to put ourselves in a different place. And then we can't perform because our emotions are getting the best of us, because we're not allowing ourselves to be grounded. And so doing these mindfulness exercises where it's like, that sucked. Let's ground in. Let's figure out how to do this, you know? And this past wrestling season, I tried my best with my children to be like, all right, let's do a visualization exercise of what you want to see happen on the mat, and walking them through that and getting them to like wrap their heads around it's still a challenge that I'm like working through, because it's a tool I have in my toolbox. So I'm trying to just educate them. And same with Jeffrey. I feel like just having that awareness and how energy is felt, you know, because if he comes off of the mat or off the field and it's a loss, I'm immediately like, okay, what do I need to do to try to shift his energy? But really, it's him shifting his own energy.
Right.
And giving, just by me practicing what I preach, helps for him to also embody that.
Well, I think that as for anybody out there that is a partner or a loved one that is, you know, coaching or doing anything that where high emotions are involved, just being an energetic presence for that person can open the door for them if they want to talk, if they want to vent, or if they don't. But, you know, some of the things that I would recommend are be like, listen without solving the problem. Don't take over the conversation. Just let them talk about whatever it is, whether you agree with it or not. Right? Like, that's not up for us to decide, right? In that moment. Having those silent support rituals like you're talking about, right? From the sidelines, when you're at home, lighting a candle, you know, if you know that they have a tough game coming up or something like that. I personally do this all the time. And if I'm sitting at like a show or something, I'll write an intention in my notes on my phone. You know, Krystyn loves her notes. And like send that energy out to the ensemble, right? It's so easy to get wrapped up in the energy and the politics of any of these organizations, because inevitably somebody's bitching, somebody's like doing something that's absolutely crazy. And, you know, I don't know in terms of what Jeffrey deals with his coaching, but part of Charlie's job is also fundraising a huge amount of money to even make his ensemble happen every year. And all the back end stuff that goes with that, writing the music, coordinating the visuals, like managing all of the staff, like all of that. And so there's so many people involved that finding ways to ground is so, so, so important.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of people in both organizations that also do different roles and have different responsibilities. And I think, you know, the saying, too many chefs in the kitchen, like I am the type of person that I want to lead, I want to motivate, I want to help, but not at the point of contention where it's going to become like a power struggle. I'd much rather just shift that over.
Right. You can just validate and say, I hear you.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that's it, and walk away.
Yep. And so I think Geoff is very similar to that in that regard as well. And I think that depending again on which sport it is, he ultimately wants the kids to love whatever sport it is that he's teaching.
Right.
It's not about winning. So that message is very clear, right? He loves to win. And he'll say this. He's like, I love to win. I hate losing. I hate losing.
Right.
But having the kids fall in love with the sport and see it through to high school or college is the ultimate goal. He wants them to love the sport, understand it, and conceptually get it. And that's been a challenge too, because he does mostly boys. Football's mostly boys. There's a few girls that play. And, you know, he conceptually wants them to understand it. So like visually get it in their brain to like how to run routes, what to do. Actually, video games has been very helpful for Graham, playing college football and Madden. And he's super smart. Like you can see, he sees the plays before they happen. And so he wants them foundationally to get that and have fun. And so we have had a losing season all season. We haven't won a game, but we've had really, really great moments and learning moments too that Geoff will always be like, okay, we didn't execute this right. Let's look at why we didn't execute, and having those roles on the field and staying in your roles, because if you don't stay in your role and execute, somebody else on your team's going to get pancaked, and it's been really cool to see. So
we're talking about football now, right?
We're talking about football. I'm like just all over the place, man.
Just so you know, Jeffrey coaches wrestling and football.
Different seasons, but yes, we're in the throes of football. And so I wanted to bring up a habit that we have that I find really beneficial is decompressing after a game. And we typically will invite the coaches over and the families over, or we'll go somewhere and we'll have some food and everybody like decompresses and talks about the game, talks about what happened. And it's a bonding moment. It's a full circle, like, okay, that was great. What did we love about it? Where can we work? Where can we improve? It's similar with wrestling too, where we will get together after a big tournament, or we'll be at a hotel somewhere because we travel with wrestling. And, they talk about families and how you have like a football family or a wrestling family. And it's true. Like there are, some of the best people that I have come to know in my community have been through these communities. Right. When we lost Geoff's dad and brother was in the throes of wrestling season. And we lost Geoff's brother. It was like 5 a.m. or 3 a.m. on a Saturday. And we had a match that day. And, Geoff woke up and George sent the clearest sign to Jeffrey, which I'll tell this story because it's worth telling. Because my husband believes in what I do, but he does think it's a bit woo-woo. And he's that guy that's always like, I don't know, crystals, incense. It's kind of weird, but whatever. And so we had gotten up early that morning and he woke me up and said, George died. And I was like, fuck. I was like, so Geoff had come in and said that George had passed away. And so I got up and I got a cup of coffee and we were sitting on the couch. And, what do you say when your husband's brother has passed, right? I was just, for someone who says a lot and always has something to say, I do find in times like this, I'm like mum's the word, right?
Right. Sometimes you just have to be a steady place that they can come in and out of.
Right.
And feel safe to talk or not talk.
And Geoff is a non-talker when some of these things happen, right? So we're sitting there and I said, listen, he's like, I'm going to go get a shower. And I was like, okay. I was like, talk to your brother. I was like, when you're in the shower, have a conversation with George. Tell him how you feel because he wasn't able to get up there before he passed. Let him know how much you care about him, how much you love him. And just think about, some of the stories, some of the things that you guys, shared throughout the years. And he was like, okay. And, off he went. So he gets out of the shower, he gets ready to go. And he comes upstairs and he's like, son of a bitch, Rachel. And I was like, what? I was like, what happened? What? I haven't even said anything. Like, what? And he was like, I'm in the shower and, and I'm doing what you said. And I'm thinking about all these stories about him. And he's like, this story kept coming up in the shower of a wrestling match that George was participating in. He's like, I was probably like 10 at the time. And George is on the mat and he's wrestling this guy and this guy headbutts him so hard that he splits his eyebrow open, right? So he's like, so there's blood all over the mat. So they take time. They had some gauze, but they didn't have, pre-wrap or whatever they needed. So they just took athletic tape and they just wrapped his head around and around and around with this white athletic tape. And George ended up winning the match. And that story just kept playing in my head in the shower and he's like, there's a picture of him somewhere with his head wrapped with this tape. He's like, and I go to get in the car to leave for the wrestling match. And in Isla's cup holder is a brand new roll of white athletic tape. He's like, and I knew in that moment that George was okay.
Right.
And that he was listening and he was crying, you know, like, how are you feeling right now? And he's like, I don't know, I'm just feeling all of the things.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm mad I wasn't there, but I'm also okay because I know he's okay and he's not in pain anymore. And that I know he knows that I love him. And it just was like this full circle moment.
Yeah.
And it was really good. It was very validating for me because naturally you and I, we trust the universe. We trust energy. We know that this is so much bigger than us.
Right.
And that this is
stardust. Just
a blip. And his soul is fine. And we will meet again. And it's all temporary. But it was in those moments where I think it's also helpful being a coach's wife, also being spiritual, that those people that have set the tone and have influenced us are still there, you know?
Right.
Same with his father.
Right.
So I didn't know that story was going to come up, but
Thank you for sharing.
I'm glad it did.
I am too.
Yeah. So now every time we see white athletic tape.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. You can't think of anything else, right?
Oh, but where I was going with that was the wrestling community. And they just rallied. You know, Geoff ended up going to that wrestling match and he made it about 3/4 of the way through. And then the emotions were
too much.
It was way too much.
Yeah.
Because everyone kept coming up to me and they were like, should Geoff be here? And I was like, that's Geoff's call. Like again, being a coach's wife is, I'm not going to make that decision until it got to a point where I was like, he had come up to me and was like, I need to go.
Right.
And I was like, you do.
Well, I mean, and this is where the other part of this comes in, which is boundaries and self-care, right? Like when you are putting out that much energy, and especially in something, you know, so heightened that he was feeling that day, right? Losing his brother. You know, how do you support your partner in them recognizing that they also have to take care of themselves, right? And that it's okay for them to put up a boundary that says, I'm committed, I love this, but I need some space for myself right in this moment. Mm-hmm. And that's hard. It's hard for them to do when they give so much of themselves.
Well, men in general, I think when they commit to something, they commit to it. And there's no breaking that commitment.
Right.
And
I mean, I wouldn't say all men. Our men.
And
let's not get crazy, Rachel.
That's true. Keep it in check. The good guys. And I think you're right. I think that there is that balance of, because I can feel him. I can feel his energy. I have a very hard time if he is in a bad mood. I have a very hard time not embodying his energy. He's one of a very few amount of humans that it's deep. It's soul level.
Yeah, I'm the same with Charlie.
And I wanted him to do what he needed to do to get to the place where he recognized that he needed that space. Because everybody, the whole wrestling community was like, whatever you need, right? Like almost to like a point where they were like, why
are you here?
And I was like, This is his commitment. Like he wants to be here.
But that's what he needed.
That's what he needed.
Didn't need it anymore.
Until he didn't need it. That's right. Yep. It's fascinating to watch it play out in real time. I feel it as if it happened only yesterday. And I mean, it hasn't even been a year, but like those 2 weeks were it was so raw. It was so open.
Right. You have to spend a lot of time channeling, allowing your feelings to happen, but also channeling patience.
Yes.
And I think that's, true really of anybody that's coaching or teaching is, man, you better have some patience.
Yeah. So the coach's wife, what is your role? You are the emotional anchor. You're the family balance keeper. The public presence. We haven't talked about that. the home manager, the spiritual emotional supporter, the flexible planner, silent strength, public presence. This is an interesting one for me. With football, we have a team mom. Wrestling, you don't so much have a team mom, but you do have like different coordinators. I kind of like to fly under the radar. I'm sure there's some coaches' wives out there that are just like, I'm the coach's wife. I like arrive late to the game.
I would like to see you do that, please.
I'm the coach's wife. That's like me if I was ever like married to a politician.
I think we can just go ahead and say that we don't have political aspirations, nor would we
It would
make
be
it
like
very far because of our videos.
it'd be the exact opposite of
Like
all
that
things.
woman sent her kids to school with potatoes.
My God.
I don't know why they talk like that.
All of a
but
sudden, I'm from Alabama.
woo. Evie and I both spend a good amount of time with Charlie and the marching band and the ensemble. And Evie has really good relationships with all of his students, which I think is so cool. And they just like, she's like the little mascot.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of last season,
Mm-hmm.
they gave her a little award for like the hype girl, which was so cool. And I have a lot of relationships with the parents. And Evie and I go to support them, you know, with what they do when they're pushing onto the field or they're pushing onto the floor to do a show. They need tons and tons of volunteers and hands to help with that. So Evie and I show up, right? We show up to do that. So you just naturally develop relationships. And, you know, we have families that we still like, their kids are graduated and we still get together and do game nights with them. And they listen to the podcast too.
Well, Shane,
Thanks so much.
I mean, Shane
Thanks
is
so
a
much.
product of Charlie's coaching,
Right. Same.
you know, and he was very interested to come back into the fold
Right.
subconsciously or consciously to see Charles.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Ow, I should put my tongue.
I saw you do that. So yeah, I think to your point, I'm there, but I like to fly under the radar. Naturally, I help wherever I can,
Right.
but I'm not a pompous, look at me, I'm the coach's wife. I'm like,
I'm gonna get a t-shirt that says that I'm the coach's wife.
please don't. I will never wear it.
Yes, you will.
I won't.
Okay, then I'll make myself a t-shirt that says my friend is the coach's wife with an arrow, and I'll just stand next to you, make you feel very
She's the
uncomfortable.
coach's wife. But like you'll have like a sign.
I'll just get a fat
like
head of you
protest.
made.
Oh, okay. Don't do it.
I would not do any of these things.
No, you wouldn't. I know you wouldn't. But
it's fun to joke.
it is fun to joke.
Because there are people that exist in this world that would do shit like that.
That do shit like
I
that.
don't know. You said do.
Dude, you said do.
You said do.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on this episode.
Yeah.
If you are in a space similar to this, doing these types of roles, share with us because I think this is a wonderful community episode where this is so much bigger than us. And I think that having a place for people to come and share their stories and talk about this or their struggles
Right.
is so important. So
thank you for coming up with this idea and bringing it to the table, Rach. I think it's great.
shout out to Annie. Thanks, Annie.
Thanks, Annie.
All right.
We'll see you guys
Till
later.
next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.